So everybody, thank you so much for joining us this evening. I did have to do a few things on the fly today, but thank you so much for joining along on the show. As always, I always do appreciate everybody that takes the time out of their day to join me. So thank you so much, everybody. So first of all, um, just something that I want to get out there. Thank you so much for my guest for hopping in on such short notice. I do always appreciate that. My regularly scheduled guest had an emergency come up, and it was one of those things where, that's more important than coming on here and getting on the show and talking, that sort of thing. So we did reschedule. I know I put it out there. Kai Torrance was my planned guest for this evening, but again, things happen, life happens, and this is what we do. We adjust. So thank you so much, guys, for just understanding. And let me go ahead and start with the particulars. As always, if this is your first time following us, we are streaming live across multiple social media platforms. So we do stream live on our YouTube page. So if you go to our YouTube channel, that is at www.youtube.com/made from scratch broadcast there. That's our channel. Do us a favor. We're streaming there live. Drop your comments down in there. We'll interact with them as we go along with the show. And do us a favor. Hit the like and subscribe button. We are building our viewership there. Thank you so much, everybody who's subscribed so far. And hit the little bell for the notifications. It'll let you know whenever we do go live and we do drop new episodes. So thank you so much for that, guys. And again, we are streaming live on Facebook, and that is on my personal page and the show page, and that is at Made from Scratch Broadcast. We are streaming live again, so guys, do the same thing. Drop the comments down below. We can pull them up. We can interact, and if you have any questions for this evening's guest, we can get them answered. So thank you so much, guys. If you're watching on Facebook, we're also streaming live on Twitter. And if you're following us on Twitter, we're streaming via Periscope, and that is at that is at MFSB Live on Twitter. So if you're following us on Twitter, drop your comments there down below. Appreciate it so much. And then we're also streaming, guys, via live on LinkedIn. So if you're following along on LinkedIn, guys, drop down in the comments as well. And we also do a separate thing where we do stream live, and it's kind of like a behind the scenes thing that I've done it before and I started doing it again. So I am streaming live via Instagram, so you can just see what's going on in the background with me. I know it kind of sucks. I wish I had another way to kind of stream there as well. But again, it's something creative that I can do with Instagram. And you can follow us on Instagram as well. And that is on the at Made from Scratch Broadcast on Instagram. So hi, Instagram, if you're watching. Hey, everybody there as well. Drop your comments down below. Let me know if you have something you want to ask or you see everything that's going on here. So thank you so much. So, and then we also do have it on our website. So, guys, if you're on a website, that is at www.madefromscratchpodcast.com. There you can find past episodes. You can find links to our podcast form of the show. We do turn it into a podcast, and we do stream on Apple Podcast, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Overcast, Radiocast. There's a few other podcasting hosting platforms that we do stream on. So check us out there as well. And we do have our internet radio station, which is actually running right now. And again, I'm in the process of building that up. So thank you guys. If you're listening there, you can also find that link on our website. So, let's get that out of the way, guys. So let me start by saying, for everybody who's following along, who's been part of the show and has, been a regular, all the gratitude in the world so much for, again, helping me along on this journey. This doesn't happen without you guys, and I always appreciate the support. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, Mike Padurano, watching on Instagram. Thank you so much. And then see if there's anybody pulling up comments. Yes. So, countdown clock stopped at 46 seconds. That might have been my fault. Sorry, guys. So yeah, check that out there, guys. www.madefromscratchpodcast.com/madefromscratch. There you go. Awesome. And then, hey, Lena girl, what's going on? So thank you guys for following along already. So let's go ahead and get into this evening's guest. So guys, we kind of reached out through a mutual friend who kind of, walked me through. He's been bringing me a lot of interesting folks, and he's watching on Instagram right now. So thank you, Yonder Bar Eric. Thank you so much for watching on Instagram. He was the one that kind of brought this guy to my attention. So, he's a chef in Philadelphia. His story is pretty interesting. He experienced kidney failure back in 2003 and started undergoing dialysis. So, on top of that, he's a chef, and he wants to get his message out there about what he's creating and what he wants to share. So, guys, do me a favor and welcome to the show, David Pollack. Hey, David.
Hey, Gabriel. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good, sir. Thank you so much for hopping on this evening. I do appreciate the time. You were very active last night in last night's show. So, you never know.
Last night's show was my first show watching. So,
Well, guess what? Tonight's your first night being on.
Yeah, there we go.
So you never know. The tables turn pretty quickly. So, let's go ahead and start talking first about a little bit about your journey and, kind of describe yourself to everybody who's unfamiliar with you, but kind of walk us through why you wanted to start sharing this purpose and this mission in the first place.
Absolutely. So my name's David Pollack, obviously. I spent 4.5 years on dialysis. I am now an 8-year recipient as of April 24th, this past April 24th.
Okay.
But I've been cooking since I've been 14 and been working professionally pretty much since I've been 14. We all start someplace.
Yes.
So, I was doing really well. I was on track and got married to my first wife who essentially looked at me and was like, let's go get some blood work done. Went and got some blood work done. And the doctor looked at me and said, yeah, your kidneys are failing.
Oh, wow.
Just looked at them like they had 3 heads. I'm just like, okay, what does that mean? So completely asymptomatic, didn't even know it. And I was already in 5th stage renal failure. Went eating really clean, the whole 9 yards. And then about 7 years later, I ended up on dialysis, and just there was a lot of things I saw. A lot of people came and went. They were there one day, they were gone a week later.
Yeah.
And a lot of it was due to food. People just eating the wrong things, because when you're on the machine, your diet has to completely change.
Yeah, that's okay. No, completely.
So,
Yeah, go ahead.
So I initially started this in 2014.
Mm-hmm.
And about 2 months after I got started with the WordPress blog, I actually got a call from a friend of mine who was still on the machine about a few friends of ours that we lost.
Ooh.
That I just didn't know about. So kind of fell off, and just recently, started listening to Tea with Gary V. Got introduced through friends over the past probably 6 months to almost a year ago, into it. And I just figured get it out there and just start really sharing what I want to share, which is when you're on the machine, how to survive.
Yes.
And not just survive, but thrive while on dialysis, because a lot of it has to do with your food choices.
Mm-hmm. And you're so right on with that. And one of the reasons that for me this kind of is really hits home is because my father spent the last 10 years of his life on dialysis. He had diabetes, and yes, he did not take the proper course of action to stabilize your life and that sort of thing. And eventually with the disease, if you don't take care of it, those things start happening. So his kidneys failed. And once that happened, then he had to go on the machine, and that was a 3 week trip every week, and for hours at a time, having to sit there and live through that. So I've kind of seen somebody go down that path, and
It's not pretty.
no, it's not, and it's so interesting that here you are, trying to make a difference out in the world doing this, because again, for me, it kind of touches home because it brings back those days, and again, it kind of robbed him of a lot of the freedoms that he used to have back in when he wasn't on dialysis. So, and again, I've known people who had like lupus. They again, same sort of deal. They had to learn how to operate and live like that. So, did they ever kind of tell you what the underlying causes was, why your kidneys started failing?
So I was actually one of those rare cases that they have no clue. There wasn't enough kidney left for them to be able to test to see if it was something genetic. There wasn't. I wasn't diabetic. I didn't have hypertension prior to 6 months before going on dialysis.
Mm-hmm.
So they just think it's some sort of uric reflux that I had. But the top 4 causes of people going on dialysis is, obviously diabetes, as you know, and hypertension. Top 2, yes. Right there, 1 and 2. Yes. They switch places. The third one is actually heroin use. So, yeah, the doctor looked at me and was like, "Okay, you're not diabetic, no hypertension, you use heroin." I'm like, at the time, I was so scared of needles. I at the time, I was so phobic when it came to needles. I just looked at him, I was just like, "You kidding me?" Like, literally, I had to have my wife with me when I would go to get my wife with me when I would go to get blood drawn.
Yeah.
The fourth way is actually through people using creatinine and overdoing the amount of protein that they're actually taking in.
Yeah.
That causes strain on your kidneys too. So, I mean, but the crazy part is it's asymptomatic.
Yeah.
So you just don't know until it's too late, or you get the blood work done early enough that you start to regulate that.
Yeah. And, again, you're kind of like with 2 of those underlying causes that we just outlined, a lot of those can actually be prevented if you actually take any kind of step into self-care, your health and that sort of thing. Because again, there's people who do develop diabetes and change their health patterns, change their lifestyles, and it goes away. I mean, type 2, type 1, of course, yeah, you're usually genetically born. Yeah. But type 2 diabetes, people can actually get rid of it by doing these sort of lifestyle changes and changing your eating habits and understanding how to regulate, sugar levels, all these things that go into it that you have to learn about. So, again, and the heroin, of course, right? You can stop using heroin.
Don't use heroin, guys. It's really bad for you.
Yeah.
Actually, my wife is a type 2 diabetic.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, she's lost a bunch of weight. She's off of insulin. She was on insulin for about 3 or 4 years, and she lost weight and using some of the products because, obviously I'm not just, I earn money other ways too.
Yeah.
But she's been off of insulin now for the past 4.5 years, and it's just through diet change, through using specific products, and she's been doing really well.
Awesome. So kind of walk me through the whole, before we start talking about how you developed the diet, let's talk about how you started cooking at such a young age. That's pretty interesting to me. So, you started cooking at the age of 14. So how did you find that passion that you wanted to, kind of spend the rest of your life wanting to be, or at least getting into cooking and wanting to become a chef and that sort of thing? So kind of walk me through that a little bit.
So for me, I was never good behind a desk. I wasn't an A student. I wasn't a D student, but I was average. And for me, I always like to be on my feet. Well, when I was 14 years old, and I was like, Dad, do I get any kind of allowance? He looks and goes, you got to get a job. So I literally went out, and actually the first job I had working in the food industry was actually McDonald's, and that's how I started,
Oh, wow.
you know. And I actually had a general manager. When I quit there, the general manager looked at me and said, "You'll never amount to anything in this industry." To which I just kind of looked at him and walked out. I didn't even finish out my 2 weeks. I just left. And from then on in, I've just been working every day in, whether it's a restaurant, I've done hotels. I actually am now working for corporate dining.
Wow. Yeah. So there's so much. There's so much as far as the things you can actually, because everybody kind of, there's I don't know, there's people who kind of get a generalization of what being a chef is about, right? Like you said, there's so many different avenues that you can actually pursue in becoming a chef, right? Just kind of like you said, you've done it in hotels, you've done it for corporate now, and each of them kind of have their own separate sort of structures. I know I've spent a few. I've I used to deliver for to a lot of restaurant supply places early in my career. So I've been in at least over about 100 different kitchens. So I see the differences, and I see how, of course, everybody has their own system, but, kind of help me walk through how you started developing, your system and the recipes you created to kind of develop this cooking without kidneys, because again, I'm pretty sure it has to do with a lot of what you were doing when you were on dialysis. Kind of walk us how you developed all that, all these cooking styles and these recipes that did you test them? Were these just recipes that you just came up with in your head, or how did that work out?
So I've actually had a lot of time to play with a bunch of different recipes. I mean, like I said, I've been cooking for a lot of years.
Yeah.
And one of the things that has come out, if you go to the National Kidney Foundation website, there's actually a link to everything you should and should not eat while on dialysis. So these foods are high potassium, these foods are low potassium. So I wanted to create something for people who are on dialysis that may be looking for familiar flavors.
Yeah.
And also a lot of my food is actually rooted in South American Latin style cuisine. I was a saucier Cuba Libre up here in Philadelphia when they first opened up.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
At one point in time, I was working for Jose Garces on his line.
Oh, wow. That's an Iron Chef. So
it was that kind of kitchen. Unfortunately, when you're on dialysis, that kind of, let me tell you, man, there's nothing like seeing the frustration in a chef's eyes when you go walking off the line to take a phone call because it may be the kidney you're waiting on.
Wow.
Yeah, so, it didn't matter what time it was. There was a couple times I actually literally turned around, looked at the chef. I'm like, need your cover. I got to take this call. Oh. I'm not missing that opportunity.
Yeah.
So, but most of the food, most of what I do comes from just some very, very basic ideas. You won't find any citrus, not even a little bit, in anything that I cook. A lot of times I'll substitute a vinegar for it, whether it be a raspberry vinegar or something of that nature, or a wine. Potatoes.
So kind of lay out, like what what kind of ideas have you created, or have you come up with, like maybe to do a cookbook with all of these in here?
So that's actually why I'm building the WordPress site. It's essentially going to be a biography / cookbook, with all the different recipes, and I'm a chef. I've been experimenting with so many different kinds of foods. Some people say South American, Latin foods can be very tough, because then you're looking at things like plantains. You're looking at things like, dark leafy greens.
Yeah.
Patatas, the root vegetables. yuca,
Yeah.
malanga, you gotta stay away from all that. So being able to take those ideas and those recipes and to be able to adapt them for someone who's on dialysis, such as I make arroz con pollo.
Yeah.
When I do arroz con pollo for someone who's on dialysis, there's no beans in it, there's no tomatoes in it, no citrus. I don't use any citrus in it. Okay, I
Yeah.
actually make my own sofrito for it to make sure there's no tomato product. It's the same. I actually have been using the same recipe for sofrito, and when I make recadito, I do a more Puerto Rican style recadito, where the way I learned it at Cuba Libre with
Yeah.
Chef Guillermo Veloso, which shout out to him because he's still a mentor of mine.
Awesome. Shout out.
But the way he taught me, I essentially all I did was exclude the tomato paste from it.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I mean even things like marinara. One of the things that I missed was the basics of a marinara. That rich, heavy tomato
sauce. Yeah.
with with ground beef in it, and I've actually have a tomatoless marinara that comes close. It was one of the first things I created when I was on dialysis.
Yeah, because again, you're talking about there's a lot of things that are going to be left out, like you said, really heavy, starchy things like and that again aren't really good for you when you're on dialysis. So people kind of get the idea, well, gosh, all these things are missing. This food cannot be really that good. So, kind of, have you had like say reviews or any kind of like that about some of these recipes that you've actually put out, or have people been like, yes, this is wonderful, thank you for sharing it? Have you had any kind of anybody reach out like that?
You know what? I haven't had anyone reach out negatively to me yet.
Yeah.
I'm waiting to see someone say, I tried this recipe, it didn't work. What did I do wrong?
Yeah.
Um, but mostly I'm getting, I mean, even I've contacted the transplant unit that I was part of, talked to their dietitian, nutritionist, and they're actually testing out the recipes. I've had friends that I talked to on Twitter, who've actually used the recipes and they work.
Yeah. So that's pretty awesome, though. Let me ask you about the process of being on dialysis. What was that like for you the first time that was the realization that was going to be your life for a while? Because a lot of people, they hear the word dialysis, but they've never been inside of an actual dialysis center or somewhere where they're going to sit down. So kind of walk us a little bit through that and that experience.
Oh, well, so I have to start from congratulations on your transplant, Beth.
Yeah. Thank you.
Seriously.
Yeah.
You're very welcome. So when I started on dialysis, first off, I had the heads up. I physically wasn't bad enough to be on the machine when I was on fifth stage. Like everyone thinks your creatinine hits 3.5 and then you start dialysis right away. It's not how it works. Your body goes through a breakdown period, and it's so slow that you don't even realize how sick you are, until you end up in the hospital and you have a fever. They find all this fluid in your body and they say that you have to start. Now, I had a heads up 7 years prior. So, we just kept an eye on it. And when they started to see my numbers rise is when they decided to put a fistula in my arm. I had mine removed.
Yeah.
But I actually.
Yeah, I remember those.
It's the best way. Yeah, they're not pretty.
Yeah, I remember those.
Not pretty for a long time.
Yeah, I remember that in my father's arm. So, yeah, again, because again, I can, literally remember the times that he would go and we would have to plan around him being able to do his treatments. So,
Yep.
There's a lot of things that kind of, that kind of develop when you get on dialysis. And these are things that you have to work around, because again, it's not like, oh, let's just go sit over there for an hour.
Doesn't work like that.
Yeah, it doesn't work like that. So yeah, it's a really big change. Because again, for him, a lot of his freedom was kind of taken away, because he used to like to go to Las Vegas. He used to like to go, and so hopping on planes, doing all these things, and not.
The thing is with that is that you could still plan around it.
Oh yeah,
Like my wife and I, when I was on dialysis, we would go to an event called Penzic, a medieval event out in Western Pennsylvania. And literally we'd be camping, and I would leave the site for 4 hours at a time, 3 days a week.
Oh wow, yeah.
We honeymooned in Vegas, and while I was in Vegas, I was on dialysis. So 3 days a week, I was going on to the machine. You can schedule your way around it, so you still have the same freedoms. You just have to take it into consideration.
Yeah. So that was one of the things that it was kind of hard for him, because again, at this point he was pretty much dependent on my mother at that time, because he with his dialysis and his advanced stage of diabetes, he had developed cataracts. He couldn't drive anymore. So, literally when he lost his freedom, he kind of lost his freedom to hey, don't worry about it. I'll go drive to dialysis. I'll go over there for whatever it is. And he just couldn't do that anymore. He just, and again, being able to go and plan around doing that 3 times a week somewhere else. If you were, of course, setting up like insurances, and that it can accept you, that sort of thing. So that was kind of a challenge a little bit for him, because he wasn't used to it. So, and again, he was at a he had a little bit harder struggle, just because, and he did, and again, that's one of the things I tell everybody, if you get that opportunity. So yeah, wow, awesome, thank you, Beth. She's like, your attitude's exceptional. Yeah, so kind of tell me about that as well. About how did that affect you mentally, as far as having to deal with that, and making these kind of choices. And then what was after you had your transplant, kind of share what you were emotionally as well afterwards. So kind of walk us a little bit through the before and after look.
Okay, so wow. There's stories I'm going to tell, and I know my wife's in the other room. She'll be shaking her head. So, oh yeah, because dialysis, as bad as you are going into dialysis, when you first start, it feels horrendous your first couple of days on the machine, and that's just because it's your body getting used to your blood being filtered a different way, but not just the bad stuff being taken out, all the good stuff too.
Yeah.
So, the first couple weeks was really rough. Actually, my first week in the dialysis center, because I didn't have hypertension until, 6 months before dialysis. The moment I started dialysis, when they should have taken me off the meds, they didn't. And the tech who was on in my little corner, because there's different techs for each corner of the unit, wasn't paying attention, and my blood pressure dropped to 50/30. So imagine a hangover times 10 waking up from that.
Wow, yeah, that's got to be something.
So, but after a few weeks, it just became such a routine, and I just accepted it for what it is. And I was one of the few people that actually slept through the entire session, that would just joke about everything. Because to me, I got to. I don't live life serious. I've never really have.
Yeah.
When I'm serious, then things can be off, and I definitely have my down moments. at one point in time when I was on the machine, yeah, I actually, if it wasn't for my wife staying home, I wouldn't actually be here.
Oh wow.
Yeah, my current wife, I should say.
Yeah. Let's clarify, right?
Let's clarify here. I'm on my second wife. Love the first one, love this one more.
There you go. So, and then kind of tell us a little bit, and then what was that? Well, let's see. What was the phone call like when you did get the word that you were going to get you were going to get a transplant? What was that like?
That was the seventh call I've gotten for that.
Oh wow!
And for as Beth would be able to tell you, you are by your blood type.
Yeah.
So I'm an AB neg. My blood type is so rare that it's a 10 to 15 year wait for most patients.
Wow.
But because I took care of myself and everything else, they rushed me through. They actually found one for me. But it took 7 different tries. And each time we would get the call, literally neither me nor my wife would sleep for the 3 or 4 days waiting to hear whether or not I got it or not. And that last time was kind of like, time to go.
Yeah, right.
I literally was on the job and I got the call. I called my wife and I'm just like, this one's different. They're like, okay, why? She's like, okay, why? I'm like, they told me to stop eating at 6 o'clock.
Oh, wow.
So I stopped eating at 6, went home, shaved my chest because being hairy and having those it hurts to rip those damn things off.
Yeah, so
but went in. They actually almost could not put me under.
Oh,
because I still don't like needles.
Yeah,
you can tell me once or twice, I'm good. But tell me before you're bringing me in like multiple times before you bring me in to put the kidney in me that I will be waking up with a PICC line coming out of my neck. It took them 2.5 hours to put me under and an hour to do the surgery.
it took them long. It took them longer to actually knock you out, right? That's funny.
It took them a while to put me down, so to speak.
Yeah.
But the whole process while you're on dialysis, you have your ups and your downs. For me, like Gabriel Iglesias was big. Watching him was huge for. That's actually what I'm doing with my WordPress page, Beth.
Yeah. She's asking where does he live? So
Philadelphia.
Nice place. I haven't been there yet, but I gotta my podcast co-host lives out there in Philadelphia, so I gotta say shout out to Philadelphia. What's up?
Nice.
So just kind of going over that right there, right? So now you've done the surgery. What was the first thing that you thought about once you were out and you knew that you weren't going to be on dialysis anymore? Kind of walk us through that process. And was there one thing that you said, you know what, I know I should, but I'm going to eat now because I don't, or was there anything like that? Did any of these thoughts come across your mind afterwards?
So the first thing you lose when you start on dialysis is your libido.
Yes.
The first thing you get that returns after you get a kidney is your libido.
That's awesome. That's great.
So, well,
not to make you feel more alive.
Eating as many oranges and bananas that I could get my hands on after coming off the machine.
Yeah.
Literally the first thing that ramped up was my libido, and my wife stayed with me in the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And her staying with me, she was wearing the most grandmotherly neck to floor nightgown, the whole 9 yards. And as she's walking past, I'm just looking at her going, "Hey, babe. Oh, hey, get under the covers. Get under the covers. Don't let me look." Because you have a urinary catheter for that first week that you're in out of surgery.
Oh,
Not comfortable.
all right. I can imagine.
I bet you didn't think you'd hear that story.
No, I did not. But again, this is the fun part about being live, right? You get these sort of, you get all these wonderful stories. You get the realness. So, the fact that again, you were actually lucky enough to finally have this process done.
Yeah.
Kind of walk me through how it's changed your life now and then going forward, and what are some of the things that you want to do to kind of what we're talking about now, spread your message about what you wanted to create, what you want to share.
So, okay, let's start with what I'm looking to spread, what I'm looking to share. What I want to do is I want to get chefs involved from East Coast to West Coast to all the way up to Canada to across the world, if possible, and actually create a national movement where we're doing chef competitions and chef demonstrations.
You're talking about, I heard this way before.
Laughing at Beth.
Oh, Beth, thank you so much for joining. Yeah, so
but yeah, I wanted to start like this worldwide chef competitions, demonstrations, build it into like really talking about what you can do even when you're on dialysis. You were saying earlier how your father felt like he lost his freedom, and a lot of other people feel that way. So it gets really depressing.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, one of the work when I would hit my lowest, I literally walked into work, ate everything I wasn't supposed to, from melons to dark leafy greens to plantains, everything. Escabeche sauce.
You were just doing it all, right?
Any of that. Oh, I did it all. Black beans. Oh my God. I think I had like 3 bowls of black beans while I was at work. And my wife and I went out to dinner that night. I had a grilled cheese with tomato and avocado and a big bowl of tomato and rice soup. And this is Sunday. And I did this. Now I had my session Saturday morning.
Yeah.
This is Sunday night. Monday morning, I wake up and I have 104 fever. And my wife, being way smarter than me, decided to stay home from work instead of going in. And she took me to the ER and found out that I had actually doubled the amount of potassium in my blood that they inject into a death row inmate. So I literally had 10.2 parts per million in my blood, where to kill someone, it actually only takes 7 parts per million.
Mm-hmm. Wow. So you kind of just you were ticking time bomb
in itself.
Man, that's but Beth is kind of saying, well, she says, I'll reach out to you on LinkedIn. She says I know transplant docs departments well and are okay. Oh
God, those recipes are horrendous, aren't they?
Wow.
So Fresenius and Davida have their own chefs. They actually have Fluid actually was not my issue.
Oh, was it?
I actually, because I worked in a kitchen, and because I worked out the way I worked out, because I still worked out 4 days a week, prior to going onto dialysis, before getting even a year and a half before getting the fistula in my arm, I was still training in mixed martial arts. So I was 160 pounds.
Yeah. So you were already,
so I was pretty well cut at that point in time.
Yeah.
So I just maintained and took care of myself. And it definitely got hard on the machine, let me tell you. But once I got off the machine, everything just changed. Everything.
Yeah. So kind of, have you, now that you've been through this whole, experience, and again, you're doing the WordPress site, you're going to create a book and that sort of thing. Have you thought about or I don't know if you even do this yet. I should have asked, but are you like coaching people who go in through dialysis centers, or have you formed groups or that sort of thing?
So I've actually been looking for people to reach out to me instead of me chasing them.
Yeah.
You know, the fact is that you can lead a horse to water, but they're not going to drink unless they're thirsty, and people are not going to change unless they really want to change.
Yeah.
So I really, honestly, truly want people to come to me, ask me questions. I'm in conversation with actually someone from the Twitter family that's on there. I'm talking to other people about it, and it's taking its time and growing.
Yeah. So good though. I mean, you started.
So eventually, we'll hit that point.
Yeah, no, that's good that you're getting.
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn, Beth.
Yeah, she's wanting to know if you're. So he is. Yeah. Are you coaching people? Yes. Well, that's the question. So yeah. So that's good that you're at least getting this out there and putting the word. Because again, I think it's a really good message. Yeah. You
could also follow me at Cooking Without Kidneys on Facebook, because I actually have a Facebook page that's dedicated to it. That once a week I'm putting up a recipe that I'm demoing.
Okay, so
I'm talking about, so that way people can actually see. On Twitter, I'm Cooking Without Kidneys. My handle on Twitter is @CookingKidneys.
Yeah,
you want to follow me there, because my WordPress recipes pop up there too. So, I mean, I kind of am like all over social media. I haven't quite figured out how to create awesome cooking while on TikTok, because that's a hard one. Do everything in under a minute.
Yeah, that's takes a lot to put into it. But again, but I think some social media platforms for something like this will work a little bit better than others. But again, I like the fact that you're doing this. So yeah, of course, we need to talk a little bit more after the show. I might be able to help you kind of put together a few of these live cooking shows and do. Again, this is what I do. This is what I do. I create, and I
would love to. I just need to know what equipment I need.
Yeah, essentially, I can pretty much
do everything through my cell phone.
Yeah, yeah, that's going to be a little tough. Now, just not really too much. A little bit of good lighting. Of course, you want to be able to get that across, and then maybe a decent camera. That's pretty much all you need. I've done these shows where I've technically directed remotely from other places. So I've had shows where I've had a couple of guest hosts. I had one last week where my guest host and her guest were in Chicago. I'm here in Texas. I remotely did the show for them. I had one the week before where she's in Tennessee, and the other one was in another city. And again, I kind of do everything from behind the scenes. So it's a kind of interesting aspect to what we can possibly. Again, these are the possibilities of why I talk about and I boast so much about doing live streaming. Because again, you can get these messages out here the same way that you can with, again, if I wanted to, we could put the recipes on while you're cooking. I mean, there's so many things I can, again, so many things I can do here. So like, I can create here animations. I can do, so many different things. And again, you can incorporate these into kind of like what you're doing with, your show. So yes. Again, if you have it, let's see, Eric Lane, he says, if everything is
prepared. That's a minute if everything's prepared.
I guess that's one way to kind of approach it if you want to get it on TikTok. I mean, I have seen people who put a minute video together, but you can tell there's a lot of editing work that goes into those videos for a 60-second clip. That's a lot.
So on TikTok, I experimented with the first video I did was I actually, I'm obviously not working right now, and, working our coffee business and also working on Cooking Without Kidneys. I've taken the time to start to grow my own yeast. So I've actually, did like a morph photo kind of deal for the making bread, from making your own yeast to like seeing the jar with the actual bread yeast in it to forming the dough. I just did still pics of it.
Yeah. So
I just morphed into a couple loaves. So it came out pretty okay.
yeah, I
I
think
may do something like that.
now that you mention it, you can. I should have thought about this, but I've had a guest on already who she does woodworking projects that she does on TikTok. She's pretty big on TikTok. Her name's Jennifer Klein. If you haven't connected with her, she goes by the handle Miss DeWalt on TikTok. So she does woodworking pieces where she does them creatively. So she does have to do a lot of prep work, and it's for only a minute clip. So I think you could probably use the same format with cooking. Again, like kind of like what Eric was saying there. As long as everything's prepped ahead of time and you go along in the process, and if you do the editing right and put it all together, it'll work out pretty good. So I'm going to send you a link so you can see her videos, because again, she's got a really big following on TikTok. And again, the work that she does, that she puts together, because again, these are woodworking projects that take hours to complete.
Yeah.
So same sort of concept with cooking. These are going to be recipes that are going to take time to cook, to put together. But if you put the right sort of...
my recipes, I try to keep them simple because you don't have a lot of energy when you're on dialysis. So there's a lot of, I've done a couple different recipes where it's like, you could prep this the day ahead before you're on dialysis, put it in your oven while you're on dialysis at this temperature, and come back and it'll be ready for you when you come home. So that way you're not, I'm not going to sit there and give you some heavy recipe that's going to take you 3 hours to do. When I shoot my videos on Facebook, they're only about a half hour, 40 minutes long.
Yeah. So,
and most of that is actually me talking. If I was to just do it without saying a word and just do it as at my normal speed, it would be about 20 minutes, half an hour for everything.
Yeah. So that's, but again, I think the concept and what you're trying to do and what you're trying to build, that man, hats off. That's kind of like what I tell everybody when I say go do, go make impact. And you kind of talked about, following along like Gary V a little bit earlier in the conversation. He's kind of made his impact himself, not even being here, but the guests that I've had on this week they've been influenced a little bit by him. You have Caitlin, actually the guest I had on Monday. She's an 18-year-old student. She's actually had a conversation with them. She was actually live with Gary V. So, again, what he brings, what he shares with people, the impact that he brings, and what he kind of tells everybody to do is pretty simple. So I think like you're talking about with your same thing with your recipes. If you've got people who are on dialysis, they don't have the energy, they're not going to want to do these things. Keep it pretty simple. And, that's
KISS is your friend.
Yes. Again, KISS. That's, if you don't know what that is, go look it up, put the apostrophes after every letter and see what pops up on Google. So, again, this is it's so awesome that you're actually putting all this together, and you're trying to build a network that will kind of help form and shape other people's lives. Because again, I think that there's so many people who have this who are on the verge or barely learning about that themselves are becoming on dialysis, and they go, what am I supposed to do?
The worst thing for me was seeing people come in on dialysis and it's their first day or two, and then all of a sudden they disappear for a week, and they come back and they're missing a foot, and then they disappear for another week and they're missing both legs, and then you just don't see them again. And there was I can't tell you how many times that those seats like changed.
just rotated, and that's kind of what that's kind of like what we with life itself. So let me just go ahead and ask you the question that I usually ask all of my guests.
Mm-hmm.
And if you were watching last night, you heard the same thing. So when the book is said and done on you and your time on earth is complete, what kind of legacy does David want to leave behind, and what is the one thing you think you want to be remembered for?
So I've already been dead once. I mean, let's face it.
Yeah.
So for me, coming back, it's kind of like, what I want to leave behind is a legacy of people learning to survive and thrive while going through dialysis, and maybe raising awareness for people to not end up there to begin with. People who are diabetic actually learning to properly take care of themselves and not just giving up. People who have hypertension, finding ways to get themselves off the medication properly without causing themselves issues. They're causing kidney damage. And, obviously nobody doing heroin. And people getting off the creatine kick, and knowing that the human body does not need 180 grams of protein a day. Your kidneys are going to filter that out, and you're just going to cause a strain on them.
Yeah. So,
they'll actually start to break down the cellular walls. It's so proper diet's everything.
So awesome.
Yeah.
I think the fact that going forward, now that these are, again, it's an issue that's been here for a long time, but I think there's a lot of people who don't know how to first of all approach it. They don't know, because a lot of this stuff, these resources, these things aren't like readily available out there unless you're like, once you already have it, and then you're, hey, here's a few resource.
There's already the resources that are out there also, are written a lot of times by dietitians and nutritionists.
Yeah.
People who know the chemical idea and the what you should and should not ideas behind things.
Yeah.
And how to measure it out properly, but not to make it necessarily be great.
Yeah. Awesome. But that's cool though. I love the fact that you're really taking the time, and you're putting your heart and your passion and the things that you've learned and the experiences that you're sharing with people to know that there's hope. It doesn't matter. It's not a death sentence. It's far from the things. And one of the things that I tell everybody who has some kind of, who gets some kind of sort of illness, whether it be, having diabetes, or being told you have cancer, or being told that you have some life-threatening illness, it's all about the mindset.
Yep.
Once you come to the realization of that, what I have to deal with it. I have to start, facing it head on, and you're either going to do one of two things. You're either going to really thrive and grow and develop and learn to attack this thing, or you're just going to succumb to it.
Yeah, I mean, everybody has that wall. I hit my wall. Everybody hits their wall, and it's just being willing. It's not even having the will to push through and not let it hold you back.
Yeah. So
there's a lot of people. I mean, even with this project, Cooking Without Kidneys, I held me back for a couple of years when I first got my kidney, because I had survivor's remorse. My kidney that I got received is actually half my age. I'm 43 years old. I got it 8 years.
Man.
Right.
Yeah, that's awesome. That again.
Also, I got it at the same time. It's like,
yeah, you're kind of weighing both ends of the spectrum, because you know that what the end game was for you to get this.
Yep.
And that's kind of crazy. So, just a few more comments before we get out of here. Like Eric was saying, he'd love to make his own yeast. Sounds awesome.
Dude, look, you can look it up on YouTube. That's actually how I did it, and
Yeah.
it's been working great.
Yeah. And
Been
then
working
Beth,
great. I've been doing whole wheat.
yeah. So Beth was saying about what you're creating here about dietitians. So that's where.
I'll put it to you like this, Beth. So the last video I did was red curry, chicken thighs over rice and scallion cakes, blanched asparagus, and I made a soy pineapple reduction for it.
Wow,
Pineapple is actually low potassium.
that sounds, man, that sounds really good. Even just describing it. So,
Mm-hmm.
guys, go check that out if you haven't. I'm going to put the links into the show notes afterwards, where they can find the links to find your recipes. Because again, or guess, look underneath. There's the website, guys. www.cookingwithoutkidneys.wordpress.com. Go there and you can find a lot of David's recipes.
Yeah.
And again, he does put videos up on Facebook. I'll put the link to that as well. So, again, why? Oh, wow, this guy is my new hero. Yeah, even, and I kind of, I kind of, this is why I love doing this. So people are going to find you. They're going to find your message. They're going to find what you do and what you connect. And hopefully some of these people will start going that way and sharing this out there. Because again, like you said, this is the only way, this is the best way to get what you want to do, what you want to get across to people that'll hopefully make an impact on their lives. And I think what you're creating is going to make a lot of impact. These are again, and it's so, not that it's simple, but something as simple as creating a recipe that somebody will.
It's simple, but it's not easy.
Yes. There you go. And that's the way to do it. So yeah.
And for what Summer was saying about hitting walls and getting through, I just had a tremendous why. I literally had to make my wife my why.
Yeah.
Because I could not find it in myself to find myself worth it at that time. So I had to believe in what other people believed in me.
Exactly.
So that's how I willed myself through the wall while I was on the machine. You could cook, Beth. It's not that hard.
That's right. Hey, Beth, right here. There it is. I'm giving you the link. Giving it right to you right there. I'm going to drop it down in the comments, guys, so you can see it as well. But again, man, David, this is awesome that, again, you're getting to share this message, first of all, with people who can actually find, not that
value.
Not that. Well, I was going to say that, but I think people kind of have different levels of value than what they mean, and I think this one makes it's a little bit more powerful because, again, it's something that everybody can actually do if they have the opportunity, is to cook. I can cook. I can put these things together. These are things that you can actually start instilling in an everyday life and everyday practice, even if you're not on dialysis. These are things that if you're looking to change your diet, if you're looking to change a few of these things, you can instill this into what you're doing, because, again, these recipes are created to live a healthier lifestyle.
Yeah.
So
they may be targeted for people on dialysis, but they're low sodium. Use minimal salt. A lot of times I'll just say salt and pepper to taste, or I'll say sub in low sodium soy, no sodium soy, liquid aminos. There's other things out there that you can use.
I love that. So, guys, go check that out. And one more comment before we get out of here. Thank you.
Yep.
So she's got, she's actually says her motivations to caring for her husband with brain cancer. Wow. That's
honestly, Summer, in the beginning, you just think of what cuisine you love.
Yeah.
I love South American, Cuban, Mexican, Latin style cuisine. I love Asian, and I have a love of Indian, and I learned how to cook Indian through trading with a Indian chef.
Yeah.
Back and forth. So you just find a cuisine that you love, and then you buy a book on it and just cook it from cover to cover. You know, kind of like that one. There was a movie a few years back where this woman cooked Julia Child's book
Oh
from cover
yes,
to
yes.
cover. You know, and did a blog about it every day.
Yeah, it's called Julie and Julia. Yes, I remember
Yeah,
the movie.
Julia and Julia.
Yes, awesome.
And
So
so find what you love, and work it till you have it to a point where you're comfortable with it.
yeah, so there you go. Yummy, yummy, more yummy. So guys, thank you so much, David.
You're welcome,
again,
sir.
we've been here for an hour now, and it goes by so fast. But again, we're talking about things that I think will help people's lives, help change their lives, and give them ideas and give them hope. And I think that's, in the end, I think that's what we all are looking for. It's just that little sliver of hope, knowing that no matter the circumstances,
there is a light at the end of the tunnel. It's just your choice as to where that light leads.
there you go. That's what a beautiful way to put it. Awesome, David. So, guys, thank you so much for joining the show. Thank you so much for following along. Everybody who's been in the comments, Beth, Summer, Eric, gosh, Kenneth Dunner, all of you guys, man. You guys make this show what it is. Vincent Cassidy, Lena, thank you guys. Mike Padrano, thank you, Mike. Mike's awesome.
Thank you, Mike. Mike's awesome.
Mike is awesome. I extol his greatness every time that I get the chance to. He's been my behind the scenes go-getter. So when he finds me somebody and he thinks he's interesting, I get a drop note inside of LinkedIn or something, say, hey, here, you two need to have a conversation. Check it out. And then boom, he's gone. Yeah. So. But again, I love that fact about him. So thank you so much, Mike. Awesome. Yeah. So thank you, guys. Thank you, everybody. Love. Yes. Thank you so much, guys.
Love
and again,
too,
yes. So have a good day. Have a good day. Have a good evening, everybody. Thank you again for watching the show. Just be safe out there, guys. I know that we're all going to get through this. I know everything's still kind of open. Everything's opening up a little bit more. Society's getting kind of, I don't want to say normal again, but they're just getting out there and people are doing their thing. So just be cautious again. This is still something we're dealing with and we will be dealing with for a little while longer. But, again, there's always hope. And like David said, if you want to find a light, it's just depending on what you want to say. Say that one more time. It goes. So
there's always a light at the end of the tunnel, but the question that you have to answer is, what light do you want to follow? Because there's more than one.
Yeah. So
there's always more than one path.
So
but there's always a light.
Awesome. Thank you so much, David. Thank you, everybody, again, for following along. And just a quick shout out tomorrow. I will be back 7 o'clock on Thursday evening with my guest, Elizabeth Westbrook, and we will go through her journey and what she's been going through. She's actually locally here, so it's funny that I've never had the opportunity to meet her. And it's so funny that there's so many people I've met on LinkedIn and that sort of thing. And I find out that they're here in the area where I'm at here in Dallas, Texas. And I go, oh, why haven't I met you before? It's crazy. But then that's life. And once we get past COVID-19, these are some of the things that I plan on doing is taking what I've been doing here online and taking it offline and go meeting a lot of these people. So awesome, David. Thank you so much. Just hang tight for a second after I end the show just to have a few words. Guys, thank you again for following along the show. So appreciative of everything you do. Have a great evening. I'll talk to you again tomorrow, 7 o'clock. You know where to find me, okay? Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.